Welcome back to Producer's Toolbox. I'm your host, Carole Adrienne, and today we are going to demystify a famous organization. And for anyone who is a filmmaker, who is thinking about being a filmmaker, or who is involved in film and television to any degree, you are going to recognize the name SAG-AFTRA. That is the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. And it is not just for the Brad Pitts and Timothée Chalamets of the world. It is also for independent filmmakers and small feature filmmakers and anyone involved in the business. So today, we're really lucky to have two guests from SAG-AFTRA. We have Nicole Izanec, who is the president of SAG-AFTRA Philadelphia Local. And we have Ramon Jackson, who has helped me on many occasions with actor issues. And he is the business representative and is going to be explaining some of the small agreements that are available through the union. So, Nicole, welcome. Would you please give us a little intro to what SAG-AFTRA does and why, as people in this business, we need you guys?
Hey, Carol. So happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us on. So SAG-AFTRA is a professional union. They represent TV, film, and broadcast personalities. I'm the president of the Philly Local, which is your local union. And SAG-AFTRA has been life-changing for me in my career. As a wife and mom of two, it really helps me out to make sure that my working conditions and the basic quality of my work experience is taken care of before I even get on set. To me, joining SAG-AFTRA was a pivotal moment in my career because it changed me from being a hobbyist to being a professional. I'm very, very proud of my local, and I'm so excited for what we have to share today.
That's great. And you are a working professional actress in addition to being president of the organization, right?
I am, yes.
Oh, great. Well, let's meet Ramon Jackson, who has helped me in the past several times. And you are the business representative and staff, and you are in charge of the freelance contracts, I believe. So can you give us a little quick intro to that? And then we'd like to see this presentation that you have.
That's correct. Again, thanks for having us. I am the staff rep that handles freelance contracts in our jurisdiction. And when I say freelance contracts, I'm referring to actor-performer contracts. And so today I have a little presentation on, what the union is, what we offer, and a little bit of an intro into the low budget theatrical contracts for filmmakers in our area. Just a little introduction into the low budget theatrical agreements. Really quick, SAG-AFTRA, like Nicole mentioned, is a performers union. We kind of joined forces. The Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists merged in 2012, and that just allowed us to bring on another group of entertainment professionals, media professionals, and that allowed us to kind of expand our negotiating power and those kind of things. We currently represent over 160,000 members. Our actors and our members earn over $4 billion a year under our various contracts. And our members include, a variety of media artists, actors, performers, stunt performers, broadcasters, journalists, dancers, DJs, vocal artists, and anyone that's typically in front of a camera or behind a microphone. So Nicole mentioned, the benefits of being a union member, and here just highlighted a few. You hiring, you the filmmaker, you the producer, hiring a SAG-AFTRA member has some benefits for your project. Our members, like Nicole mentioned, are not just hobbyists, they are career professionals. And so, they know how to find their marks, pick up on cues, which in the long run, saves you money. Time is money. using professional performers can improve the quality of your project, which in turn can increase the chance that your project will, receive distribution. Additionally, going through the signatory process and hiring professional talent, it provides you some comfort that you are hiring professional talent and you are covered, legally with professional contracts and legal contracts that protect both you, the producer, as well as your employees and your performers. And so I just want to hop into some of the agreements here. I wanted to include this visual for you to just kind of let you know where we're going with these agreements. The CBA, the Codified Basic Agreement, is our overarching kind of law book here. And some of the agreements that we're talking about today are offshoots of that main agreement. These low budgets that you see here have various incentives for you, the producer, to fit your budget needs. And that's what we'll be talking about today. I want to focus on the student film agreement for time purposes, as well as the short project agreement. And then I want to touch on the MicroBudget Agreement, which is a newer agreement of the lower budget tier. So you will see here, we'll start with the student film column here. In order to qualify for a student film, a filmmaker would need to have a budget of less than $35,000. The length of the project would have to be less than 35 minutes. And the student, of course, would need to be enrolled in an accredited college or university. And the project would need to be for course credit. When we talk about a day rate or what performers are due, this rate is negotiable and can be deferred. When I say deferred payment, if the performer agrees, the producer, the filmmaker would be allowed to defer that payment, would not have to pay the performer. The payment would only become due if the initial exhibition goes beyond to another platform. So under the student film agreement, you can exhibit these projects in the class for course credit, film festivals, free to consumer, new media, things like YouTube, Instagram, those kind of platforms. If it goes beyond those platforms, that payment would become due at that time. And then the talent covered under the student film agreement are all professional performers. So this means that you can have a mixed cast, union and non-union, and only your union or professional performers would be covered under this agreement. You could have a separate agreement with your non-union talent. I do want to mention these projects, these agreements that we're talking about today are what we call agnostic, which means that it has opened the door for the platform that the producer can exhibit their project. Prior to these agreements becoming agnostic, it really kind of pigeonholed a producer into picking one platform or over another, and opening these agreements up, making them agnostic, allows them to be aired or exhibited on a multitude of different platforms. Moving on to the short film agreement, the budget here has upped to $50,000. The runtime of the project has been increased to 40 minutes. The day rate to your talent is still deferred or negotiable. Again, meaning that the initial payment to the performer can be deferred, and same thing, it will only become due if the project, picks up a distribution deal and is exhibited on a platform that is different from where it was initially exhibited. The only difference here is, of course, over not having to be enrolled in an accredited college or university, that who is covered under this agreement. Instead of it being a mixed cast, all of your principal performers must be covered under this agreement, and the first 10 background performers are covered under this agreement. Any background performer over 10, you can have a separate deal with. They don't need to be professional or union members, but again, it's all principal and just the first 10 of your background performers. And I wanted to incorporate this micro budget agreement because it is the newer of the low budget agreements. This is the most user-friendly of our lower budget agreements. To qualify for the micro budget agreement, your budget would need to be less than $20,000, and all protocols are negotiable. That means the rate is negotiable, the length of day, the time span is negotiable. You get to kind of hash that out with your talent. What disqualifies a producer or filmmaker from using this agreement would be incorporation of any stunts or hazardous activity, as well as any nudity or simulated sex scenes. That would kind of bump it out of this agreement up to a short project agreement. The exhibition under this falls within the same categories of the short project agreement: film festivals, free to consumer, new media, public access TV, in the classroom, those kind of exhibitions. I say it is the most user-friendly because during the signatory process, you would be able to go on to SAGAFTRA.org into what's called the production center, and you would navigate to the micro budget section, and you would complete a preliminary information sheet or form, filling out information about the project, information about yourself, and you will immediately, upon submission, get a clearance email. So the union is taking the belief that by signing this agreement, you are agreeing to abide by all protocols necessary. You click submit, and we send you a clearance email directly right after that. This is in contrast to the signatory process for student films and short project agreements. It's a little more involved. So you have the added benefit of having a local rep, most likely myself, being your signatory rep. And the benefit of having a local rep versus having someone out in LA, with the time difference, with someone out in LA having, hundreds of projects on their plate, myself would be able to kind of have a little bit more one-on-one time with you, walk you through the process, and it's just more of an interactive exchange. By the signatory process, I am saying that I will need things like your script, your budget, your shooting schedule, how you're signing, either as an individual or as an LLC. And I just kind of work through those documents. I read through the script. I kind of find out, what's going on in the script. Are you hiring minors? Are there stunts involved? And that, moves me to provide you with certain documentation. And like I say, it's a back and forth exchange. We usually say, come to us about 6 to 8 weeks before shooting, just to give us enough time to kind of do the back and forth interactive exchange. And, you'll be cleared. At the end of that, I'll be able to provide you with your employment contracts, with your cast lists. If you're actually paying performers, I'd be able to go through the pension and health forms and process with you. So like I say, it does take some time for some of these low budget agreements. But like I say, you have a local rep dedicated to this process with you. And I'm happy to answer any questions throughout your involvement with the union.
Ramon, I have a question. As a producer, if I'm doing something very small and I'm doing a lot of it myself and I have maybe a $3,000 budget, what are the protections that these agreements offer? Like, why would I want to do that rather than just go full speed ahead with no contracts?
Sure. So the going union, I would say, first and foremost, I think I failed to mention, in order to use these contracts, you would need to have at least one professional performer or union member involved. That allows you, I guess, kind of clearance to use these agreements. Secondly, like I mentioned at the start of the slide deck here, these agreements provide the performer protection in terms of pay and working conditions, like Nicole mentioned, but it also provides the filmmaker some comfort that there are legalities that are followed, that performers can't come back and claim they are owed a certain amount. Everything is documented, has been vetted through our legal department, and is just kind of tried and true throughout the industry as setting minimums and standards throughout the entire industry.
Right, it's another degree of professionalism. It really is. But you need to, you're hoping Meryl Streep is your aunt and will do a cameo in your film, right, to be qualified to take advantage of it.
Hey, if you can grab her, kudos to you. Kudos to you. I did just want to put this up on the screen for any communication or questions that come forth. One of the goals of community outreach like this is just to put a face to the name. Sometimes I hear, I didn't know Philadelphia had an office or a local, or I didn't want to contact the local because I didn't want to, put any red flags out there. And that's not what we're about. My job here is just to give accurate information so that you, the filmmaker, can have a great project. And that we can also expand working opportunities for our members as well. So please feel free to reach out to me with any actor performer questions or contract questions. We welcome those.
And I can vouch for you guys being really responsive and informative and very easy to work with. So 5 gold stars.
Thank you so much. Our motto: we're easy to work with, we're hard to fight. And
well, you're protecting your people, right?
We do. I think Nicole could vouch for that.
There have been many times when Ramon has been an ear to listen and has handled problems. And it's great because he's really been able to troubleshoot things to avoid awkward situations. Like as a performer or producer, sometimes things come up and you don't quite know how to navigate that when you're in person. But sometimes taking a step back and having professional in writing contracts and just general protocols eliminates some of that, so that on set things are just more comfortable.
And also, it's really nice with any project to know that your loose ends are tied up, that your legalities have been addressed, and that your performers are safe and your techs. It's important stuff. So at what point, you really, a filmmaker needs to come to you guys, did you say about 6 to 8 weeks ahead? And with a budget and a script?
Correct. We typically say 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the type of project. We could absolutely clear it, sooner than that. But as a rule of thumb, we typically say 6 to 8 weeks. And again, the things that I'm looking for would be how you're signing, either as an individual or an LLC. And then I would need some further documentation if you're filing as an LLC, articles of incorporation, your company structure documents, those kind of things. Your script that I would read through, just to kind of see what kind of project we're dealing with. Your shooting schedule, just to see, how long the project is shooting for and where it's shooting, those kind of things. in your cast list, again, just to make sure that we have at least one union member professional talent that's working on the project. We compile all of this information, and like I say, I could get something cleared, relatively quickly. Should it be, a small project, low budget, with no, outstanding additional documentation that's needed.
I think it's so important to know these particular regulations, because I know with particular makers or creatives that I follow online that I frequently see them get tripped up, and they'll spend a week putting together a presentation, and then YouTube won't allow it to be shown for some reason, that things aren't in order, that they've used music that's under a copyright. There are so many places that you can fall off the cliff if you're not aware of what the legalities are. And as wild and artistic as film and television can be, they're also highly regulated industries, which is a good thing for those of us in it, because we know by which rules we are abiding. So I think it's really important, whether you decide to go with union actors or not, to really familiarize yourself with what SAG-AFTRA does, so that as much as possible you can operate within those guidelines. Would you say that's an appropriate way to go?
Absolutely. And just, to speak to that, I'd like to mention that SAG-AFTRA as a union, as an entity, has of various different departments. You spoke about the music rights to one. We have an entire department that handles specifically music rights and copyright, law. And so if you ever had, if you were to use one of our agreements, if you ever had any doubts or questions about that, we have a dedicated team to help you through that. And so that would be another benefit, another added benefit to using our contracts, that, we're not only protecting our performers, but you have resources available to you as a filmmaker, at your disposal as well.
It's easy to see too how young people can get really taken advantage of by the system, or by not having all the information. We're actually going to do a show the month after yours about the Taylor Swift's issue with re-recording her music, because she owns the publishing rights, but not the performing rights. I forget which rights she doesn't have, but it was set up when she really was a teenager. And so now she is in an unenviable position. She's just re-recorded her 2012 album, Red, I believe. And it's going, it sounds like the industry is going to change those guidelines, because you can, when it's your music, you've composed it, you've performed it, and you can really lose control of it.
I'm happy you mentioned that. Yes, the union is absolutely here to protect, the professional talent from issues like that. I typically hear, our members are happy that they don't have to chase down their payments. Everything is set in stone. So they know as soon as they're signing that contract, what is due, when it is due, and the conditions that, you're walking into set on. And so that's comforting to know.
Nicole, as an actress, do you find that working within the guidelines, do you feel safe in your profession?
I really do. One of my first union jobs, I was a stand-in, which is the person who's a performer who stands in place of the performer who's the principal. So I was a stand-in, and I was shooting a show, and the building was very, very, very old. We were getting a particular shot. And prior to me getting there, the union had come in, and an engineer determined that it was only safe to have 5 people and a camera in the building at a time. And these are things that I never even think about as a performer. But knowing that somebody came in and sort of set the parameters, it just allowed me to do my job, which is fantastic.
thank God that they worked that out before you came on set. I mean, that sounds like a pretty shaky facility, but that does happen. Or you're shooting outside and you can be in dangerous conditions. That's, you've got to protect your crew, your actors, everybody, really. How old is this organization? Does SAG-AFTRA go way back?
We do. We have a rich history. I would just, invite anyone that's interested to please reach out to me. And, I sometimes go out and I do pre-member and new member presentations, and we have a whole history section in those presentations. So I would just invite, anyone that is interested in that detail to please reach out, and I'd be happy to kind of bring you through that.
Thank you. And I'm going to suggest that anybody who thinks that they may have an interest, and I encourage that, we should probably go to your website, right? Your website is SAGAFTRA.org?
SAGAFTRA.org. There's no hyphen in between SAG-AFTRA. And, we have a wealth of information on there. That is also where filmmakers go on to the producer portal to fill out those preliminary information sheets, depending on the type of agreement that you're signing on to.
Oh, thank you so much, Ramon and Nicole. That really was helpful. And I think you've made it a more relatable association. So thank you for joining us on Producers Toolbox. Please check out SAGAFTRA.org, and we will see you next time. Thank you.